This is WFYI News Now. It's December 18th, and I'm Abriana Herron. On today's show, rural health leaders voice concerns about the potential growth of Medicare plans under the incoming Trump administration. The Indiana Democratic Party chair says he won't run for re-election. And an Indiana native's name is making headlines again, this time in a search for justice.
We knew he would do something significant, we just didn't know what.
Those stories coming up. But first, 5th District Indiana Congresswoman Victoria Spartz voiced her solidarity with President-elect Donald Trump this week. In a statement, Spartz said she will stay a Republican but will not participate in the GOP caucus and will resign as the Regional Policy Committee chair. She equated such politics as circus acts and said she would rather focus on the new Department of Government Efficiency, which Trump has appointed Elon Musk to help lead. Spartz was first elected to the 5th District in 2020. She dropped out of the race last year but rejoined and won re-election last month. The district covers parts of Hamilton, Delaware, and Madison counties. The growth of Medicare Advantage plans can create unique problems for rural hospitals and clinics, such as being excluded from provider networks. Indiana Public Broadcasting's Abigail Ruman reports rural health leaders are concerned about the potential growth of these plans under the incoming Trump administration.
Medicare Advantage plans, sometimes called Part C plans, are administered by commercial insurers that follow rules set by the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. Trump's pick for the head of CMS says he supports the growth of these private health plans. Brock Slaybach is with the National Rural Health Association. He says the growth of Medicare Advantage plans has posed problems for rural clinics and hospitals across the country.
In Indiana, you can see that you've had a 60% increase, roughly 60 to 80% increase in the number of people that have chosen MA as a source for their insurance.
Slaybach says people with these plans can lose coverage at rural facilities because insurers aren't required to cover every willing provider. He says the plans just have to ensure access meets certain time and distance standards. For Indiana Public Broadcasting, I'm Abigail Ruman.
The Indiana Rural Health Association says addressing Medicare Advantage plans is one of its 2025 advocacy priorities. Indiana Democratic Party Chair Mike Schmuhl announced over the weekend that he will not seek re-election for the position at the end of his term in March. Schmuhl became the chair of the Indiana Democratic Party in 2021. He previously ran Pete Buttigieg's 2020 presidential campaign, as well as former U.S. Senator Joe Donnelly's re-election bid for Congress in 2010. Schmuhl didn't give a reason for his departure, but said in a statement, quote, "I know how hard it can be to be a Democrat in Indiana, and over the past 4 years, we have placed our party on a path to future success," end quote. He touted the successes of the party in the last 4 years, including mayoral wins in Terre Haute, Evansville, and Michigan City. Schmuhl's announcement comes on the heels of Republican Party Chair Randy Head's departure. It also comes after the Democrats' response to sexual harassment allegations against a member of their party. His replacement will be selected by the Indiana Democratic Party's State Committee on March 15th. And for our final story today, an Indiana native's name is making headlines again, this time in a global search for justice. Indiana Public Broadcasting's Mike Morrell reports.
Michael M.J. Sharp grew up in Elkhart, Indiana, but his mission for peace took him far from home. He dedicated his life to ending conflict and bringing hope to some of the world's most vulnerable communities. In 2017, M.J. was tragically killed while investigating violence in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Now, nearly 7 years later, the U.S. State Department is offering up to $5 million for information leading to the arrest of 4 men charged in his murder. This announcement is a milestone in the effort to seek justice for MJ, a humanitarian who believed in the power of listening and trust building to resolve even the most entrenched conflicts.
You can always listen. You can always listen to people who want a chance to talk about how they see the world.
That was MJ Sharp speaking with NPR's Gregory Warner during an interview back in 2015. Sharp's work in the Congo was both dangerous and groundbreaking. With the Congolese Protestant Council of Churches, MJ led a peace program that convinced armed rebels to surrender, not through force, but through dialogue. He met with them unarmed in the shadow of banana trees, offering tea and building trust. Over time, his efforts helped more than 1,600 fighters leave the forest and rejoin society. But what drove MJ to take on such a perilous mission? His father, John Sharp, says it was clear from an early age that MJ was destined to make an impact.
We knew he would do something significant. We just didn't know what. His friends figured he'd be a millionaire by the time he was 30. And he could have, but he redirected his interests and focused rather on peacemaking and justice, making a difference for the people of Congo.
MJ's approach to conflict resolution was deeply personal and rooted in empathy. In the 2015 interview, he described his strategy. MJ explained that his work wasn't just about persuading rebels to disarm, it was about showing them a better path.
We try to build relationships and just interact. The more we interact, the more they trust us to turn themselves into us.
The work wasn't without challenges. MJ's peacebuilding program operated on a shoestring budget of just $12,000 a month, at times struggling to secure funding. Despite the lack of resources, MJ's determination never wavered. Tragically, in 2017, while investigating violence in the Kasai region of Congo, MJ and his colleague Zeta Daudelin were abducted and killed. The crime sent shockwaves through the international community. The recent U.S. reward announcement brings renewed focus to his work and legacy. For MJ's family, the moment is bittersweet, an acknowledgement of his sacrifice, yet a reminder of the immense loss. His story has inspired countless others to carry forward his mission for peace. Marshall King, author of Disarmed, a book about MJ's life, reflects on the significance of the recent reward announcement.
I don't think I ever expected that I would see a press release from the Secretary of State of the United States offering a reward in MJ's death. For us to get to this point is remarkable.
King believes MJ's life continues to serve as a model for what one person can achieve through courage and compassion.
MJ Sharp was a brilliant young man who died tragically while helping others in the Congo. There are people who continue to carry the light and do the peacemaking work that MJ cared so deeply about, and that work continues in the Democratic Republic of the Congo and other places.
While the reward is a step towards justice, MJ's impact can't be measured in arrests or dollars. It's reflected in the lives he's changed, the fighters who disarmed, and the message he left behind, that peace is possible, even in the most unlikely places. For Indiana Public Broadcasting, I'm Mike Morrell.
That's all for today's episode of WFYI News Now. Our podcast is produced by Zach Bundy and Drew Daudelin, with support from the news team at WFYI and public media journalists across the state. Our news director is Sarah Neal-Estes. Kendall Antron produced our music, and I'm your host, Abriana Herron. If you like today's episode, remember to subscribe and share. And follow WFYI on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube to check in on our newsroom throughout the day. Thanks for listening. We'll be back tomorrow.